Namaskar. Today I'll be talking about the Hindu mythological belief about the avatars. Most of you would be knowing that the Hindu scriptures talk about 10 avatars. That is the Matsya, the fish, the Kurma, which is the turtle, then Varaha, which is the boar, then Nrisingha. Nrisingha means it's a half animal and a half man kind of an species. And then it talks about Vamana, or a very dwarf kind of a man. And then Nrisingha, Vaman, Parashuram. Parashuram is a man, but he's very aggressive. And Ram, of course, is very famous. He was a king and everything. And then Krishna, he was also a king. And Buddha, who was a saint, who was saint in the sense that he became a monk. And then Adi Shankaracharya, uh, who was also a monk and a very great intellect. So the 10 avatars, actually, if we see very closely, they also show the evolution of life on Earth. As Darwin's theory states that the world was at first largely uh, completely covered with water, and the first life that came into being, which apart from microscopic beings and everything, the life which was self-conscious was fish. Fish uh, or creatures who were like fish. So the Matsya is the first avatar. That is, God incarnated himself, or you might say that God expressed himself as in the form of a fish. So stories apart, there are many stories related to all these avatars and etc. Especially the ones which with animal features and everything. These stories, we can say that it's almost like they were throughout the ages, from thousands and thousands of years. It had been uh, people, like generation after generation, they told the stories from, like, the grandfather told the father told the son. So in many cases the stories got twisted and turned, and various other things got added into it. So let's just ignore the stories and just stick to the basic thing. So after that came Kurma, the tortoise, that is amphibious life, which can live in water as well as the land, because land started to come into existence upon the earth. And then the boar, fully animals on the land. Nrisingha, that is half animal and half man, where slowly the consciousness is like evolving and starting to become much more similar to what is human. Vaman is a dwarf kind of a man. So dwarfs were very primitive men whose stature were very small. Then Parashuram, he is a man, full-fledged man, but he is very aggressive. Like, his animal instincts, maybe his animalistic nature is very much prominent in him. And then Ram is a very peace-loving man. He is also a prince. He is what he tries is, what does the incarnation of Ram uh, came into being? Why did he come to earth? God incarnated as Ram to systematize the social patterns and structures on the earth. At that During that age, uh, men used to have many wives. Like Ram's father Dasharath had 4 wives, and Ram pledged Sita, his wife, that he would never marry again, even if she, like, if anything had happened to her, even then he wouldn't marry anyone else. So in various other places, like when the rishis used to go on with their spiritual practices and rituals, There used to be Rakshasas. Rakshasas might have been tribal people who came and attacked them and took away things from them and harassed them. So Ram also uh, like made a very strong social structure that everyone has to be limited by their own boundaries. The tribal people have to live where their kingdom ends, and they have to limit themselves to their own boundaries, and they have to have peace with the rishis and the ashrams and other people, city people who are living elsewhere. So everybody has their own boundaries. They can have peaceful relationship, but not a kind of harassing relationship with each other. So, and then when his wife was kidnapped by Ravana, he went all the way from Ayodhya, which is in North India, to Sri Lanka and waged a war there and killed Ravana and rescued Sita and again came back. So, the whole life is playing the role of an ideal son to his father, an ideal husband to his wife, an ideal king for his subjects in his kingdom, an ideal brother for the other three brothers that he had. So he is showing the model. He's showing the perfection that one has to have as a human being. So that is how far the consciousness had evolved right then. And there isn't much of a philosophical discussion that Ram gives. Yes, the rishis teach him, and there is some uh, versions of Ramayana, like Adhyatma Ramayana, in which the rishis teach Ram philosophical and spiritual truths and these and that. But Ram doesn't like give spiritual talks and etc. So that is the purpose of the incarnation of Ram. And then again we see the incarnation of Krishna, where we find the Gita, the whole spiritual, the Vedanta and everything. It's all said that. Now you might say that if the Vedanta had already existed and the spiritual truth had already been given centuries before, then how can we say that Krishna? What is Krishna's then? mm, Contribution to the consciousness of the world? What is Krishna's contribution towards the upliftment of the consciousness of the world? So in that case, I would like to say that Vedanta was there, of course, but it was very much restricted to little small ashrams and rishis and spiritual aspirants doing extreme spiritual practices and meditation, and had dedicated their lives towards it, towards evolving their own selves. Only they knew the spiritual truths, but the masses at large, the people at large, they hardly had the knowledge. So what Krishna did was to bring that knowledge to people who were at least to some extent open to it, who could understand it. So he in a very general way and a variety, he gives the spiritual knowledge which like people can adjust to according to their own attitudes. Like one might be a devotee, one might be a jnani, someone who seeks knowledge, one might be a yogi, one might be very much work oriented. So whatever it be, they can adjust to it, they can have their own spiritual practices, do their own spiritual practices, and they can evolve. So after Krishna we have Buddha. Now Buddha is like someone who is very meditative. He preaches and teaches many practices, many techniques of meditation, and he also shows the world that there is a way out of suffering, and the way of non-violence, even towards animals, not only among kings and these things, but also with nature, a peaceful relationship with nature, and the not killing animals for food or even as sacrifices to gods and goddesses, this and that. So that is a very large step, a large jump towards the next step of evolution, where God expects people to understand that we have to peacefully live on the planet, coexisting with nature, with animals and everything. But yet humanity is still taking a lot of time to learn that. Anyway, so the next step is, after Buddha, is Adi Shankaracharya, who was a very great intellect. He was very intellectual, and he uh, he brought back, because at that time, due to various uh, social factors, again the Vedantic truths were almost like gone, and people were not like following, what should I say, like not following dharma in the sense that it's not Hindu or Christian or Muslim or this and that. Dharma is the the dharma of a human being, the dharma of a human being, to live, to coexist with everything, to live a life while pursuing our social careers and everything, yet to live a life which can again have some time dedicated to meditation and spiritual truth. So, to be a seeker as well as to live a practical life. So, and he then founded the four mutts, so that they could preserve the Vedantic books and everything. And by that time, Gita and the Upanishads had been too much like twisted and turned, and too much of impurity had uh, come into it. So what he did was he purified it, and he rectified it all, and the 10 major Upanishads and Gita and several other scriptures, maybe he put it again properly in a book form, and without all those impurities, because he was already a Siddha Sadhak. He knew what was the original and what had mingled into it. So it's like uh, again straining and sieving, and only keeping the purest form of what was the original text, uh, and removing whatever had mingled with it, all the impurities that had mingled with it. Now, after Adi Shankaracharya, you would see that Hindu philosophy or Hindu scriptures only speak of the 10 avatars. But if we see, the divine incarnates himself, or there are several souls who are evolved or who come from other dimensions and are born on earth. They always guide us so that humanity can go forward towards the next level of consciousness. But it's sad that only India had known and recognized his avatars, her avatars, and Indian people respected and revered her avatars. But avatars would have come in everywhere, come in maybe Africa, China, Europe, America, everywhere. But those people, those countries couldn't recognize their avatars. They couldn't, otherwise they would have, cherished their teachings, would have kept and preserved their teachings, and we would have known them. So other than just Jesus Christ, or maybe a few saints here and there, Saint Francis of Assisi or something, very few would be known, and very few, I would say, would be known all over the world, and most of them were largely forgotten, or maybe very very little remembered. So uh, Jesus Christ, Ramana Maharshi, Rishi Aurobindo, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, these consciousness, all these souls, they came again and again and again to keep on keep on guiding human consciousness in its path towards, like, evolving higher, towards higher and higher levels. So now my point is that if you are too much stuck with one form of a very previous, very ancient incarnation, that means that you are closing yourself to the teaching, or what God is trying to guide you, or how God is trying to guide you to move forward. and evolve all the more, and you are keeping yourself in that primitive state of consciousness because you are not studying, you are not reading, or you are not meditating according to the teachings of the latest avatar. Now we have to be, you don't, you keep yourself updated regarding all the modern things, like you want to have the latest phone, you want to know what is going on in the world, you want to know how far has science and technology come, and what can they give in the future. You are so interested, you are keeping yourself updated. So won't you like to be updated regarding spiritual truths also? Why would you be stuck and keep on revering Ram and keep on reading his life and teachings? Okay, of course you can read his life and teachings, but once or twice. When you know it, go to Krishna. When you have known Krishna, go to Buddha. Then go to, if you find Adi Shankaracharya too intellectual, okay, then okay, just have go on, just move forward. And even if you don't want to, just okay, follow Ramana Maharshi, follow Aurobindo, follow Vivekananda, Ramakrishna. The latest is always the best. It is suited for our mentality. It is suited for today. And you can't keep on reading Ram, and it won't help you, because what he came to teach was to a very primitive society who didn't even know that they should be a loyal husband and wife to each other. The kingdoms fought with each other. The king uh, who was victorious could just take away the wife of the king who had lost. And it was such a primitive and animalistic society. What he came to teach was a refined way of living, we can say. That is why he is called Maryada Purushottam. He came to teach Maryada, uh, that is respectful living, respect towards women, respect towards father, towards brothers, towards mothers, even stepmothers, respect towards nature, respect towards everything. So he came to teach that. Now, if you are already in that state, if you are already refined enough to understand that, then just proceed forward. He didn't give any form of meditation. And you would say, okay, the we have to repeat and chant the name of Ram. That is fine as a meditation practice. Even after reading Vivekananda, Ramakrishna, and everything, you can keep on chanting Ram. But the thing is, your understanding of spirituality must progress forward. Your practice of meditation should progress forward. After having known the latest things about spirituality, then choose whatever meditation practice you want to have. If you want to chant a mantra, or whether you want to meditate, have a technique of meditation without any mantra, that is up to you. But at least you must be aware about what God came to guide us. Now, one might say, who is God? We haven't seen, or whatever. Now, Vivekananda, what does Vivekananda say? He says God is nothing. He's the sum total. Like I had already discussed this in my previous videos, maybe, that it's like this is your body, and each of your cells has their own consciousness. And the cells of the fingers can say, oh, I am the cell, I'm doing this, and I am the cell of the nail, and I am the hair follicles, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the cells of the heart, of the kidney. Now, apart from their own individuality, they are all part of me. They are all part of you. They are all part of the totality. So even though we are all existing separately, it seems like a separation, but there is no actual separation. The earth is a total living entity, and we are all part of earth. And again, earth is part of the cosmos. The cosmos is a total living entity of which earth is a part. And this keeps on going and going and going and going. Everything is conscious. Okay, we can't say, oh, these planets are just chunks of matter. No, they are not. Okay, And rishis and saints, they had seen that why did they name them Mars and Jupiter and Saturn? And even Hindu, Jupiter is Brihaspati and Saturn is Shani. And they are embodied, like they are revered as gods and goddesses and this and that. So they are living entities. They are, even even though they are a living entity, they have worlds of their own, just like Earth. Earth is a living entity in herself, Dharitri Mata. Dharitri, she is a Devi, she is a goddess, she is a living entity in herself, and yet she has a whole world in her. We all are part of the world, of her world. Like the plants, the animals, the humans, the birds, insects, everything is part of her world. So even these planets, it is in a different dimension. Okay, you can't see it. You haven't yet, we haven't yet discovered gadgets to see or hear what is going on there. But they have their own worlds. So, and if your third eye opens, and if you are meditative enough, and you can, if you are evolved enough, you will one day see that all the planets have their own worlds. And we think, okay, there is no extraterrestrial life, or whether there are aliens, or whether there are not aliens. It's everywhere. Like, key, just awaken yourself, and you will see that uh, beings from other planets and other dimensions and other worlds, they are all around. Like, we just have to be open to the other dimensions. We just have to be open to other vibrations, other frequencies. We just have to be open towards other, we see a very small spectrum of light, the range of light, you know that. If you have like, we read that in our school science books. And we hear a very small range of frequency, very small range of vibration in the whole range of sound. So if you can hear beyond that, if you can go beyond your limitations, if you can see and hear and feel, you will see and hear a lot, my friend. So the thing what I was saying is that the avatars, they have come time and again to evolve us, to take human consciousness on earth to a next level. So what what's the least we can do? They have come, the highest consciousness, they were born as human beings, they suffered a lot, and they did everything for the sake of uplifting human consciousness. And here we are just ignoring their coming and teaching us. So let's stop ignoring them. Let's start reading, at least reading them, and let's see if it in any way, if it can in any way enhance my life and my spiritual experience in this life. The other thing, that who is this consciousness who is coming and reincarnating again and again? So it's not one, it's that they are all evolved souls. It's not that Narayana is coming again and again. It's just like the evolved souls are coming because they know that the time is ripe, and that is a potential for the human consciousness to go to the next level. So, and God is the totality. Just like the cells and my heart and my lungs and my kidney, everything is the totality, that is me. So also the planets, the cosmos, everything, the totality of consciousness, that's God. And that you might be like overwhelmed when you try to imagine that, oh, how would I imagine the immensity and the vastness of consciousness of God? Like, it's includes the total cosmos, all the galaxies and everything. Okay, don't get overwhelmed. The thing is that when I am a class 1 student, it's enough for me to just hear the teacher who is teaching in the class 1 class. Now, if I am a class 2 student, then it's enough for me, sufficient for me to listen to the teachers who are teaching for the students of class 2. So it's enough to read the teachings, the guidelines, the meditation practices of the avatars, of the saints, of the evolved souls. There are many. There is Teal Swan, Eckhart Tolle. Even now, there are various very much evolved spiritual teachers around the world. In whichever country you are living, I'm sure there would be many. So it's just that keep yourself open, open yourself, and then God can guide you. And there is two aspects of each of us. The one aspect is experiencing this physical life, and the other aspect of me is the God consciousness which is within me, the spark of God which is within me, or the how Teal Swans says that it is the source consciousness. The source consciousness has come in as me. So there are two aspects of me, the one aspect which knows everything, and the one aspect which is ignorant of everything and which is living life in this physical earth, in this physical dimension, as an ignorant person who doesn't know what is going to happen in the next moment. So what we have to do is we have to connect to my own higher consciousness. I'm trying, everyone has to try just to connect to their own higher consciousness. That it would be sufficient. You don't have to try and to connect to like the whole cosmos. So that was it. I hope this video helps, and let's move forward, okay? And just let's not fight about Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad and Ram, okay? Let's just evolve and not be kids anymore, and let's just go on with the latest and the best, okay? So thank you for listening to me. Hope this helps you. And let's move towards a peaceful and wonderful earth which we can make by uplifting our own consciousness and evolving. Thank you.